In 1870, a 31-year-old man walked into a room with a group of railroad executives and made them a simple offer. He would ship so much oil through their railroads that they'd be foolish to say no, and in return, he wanted something no competitor was getting: secret discounts on every barrel. The railroads agreed, and with that handshake, John D. Rockefeller began building the most powerful business monopoly the United States had ever seen. At his peak, he controlled roughly 90% of all oil refining in America. His fortune, adjusted for his share of the U.S. economy, would be worth $435 billion in today's dollars, more than any living billionaire on the planet. This is the insane true story of John D. Rockefeller, but it's also the story of something nobody saw coming. The man the government tried to destroy walked away from the process richer than before. And the weapons they built to stop him are the same ones regulating every major company in the world today. To understand Rockefeller, you have to understand where he started, because the distance between where he began and where he ended up is almost impossible to comprehend. He was born in 1839 in Richford, New York, into a family that was anything but stable. His father, William, known as Big Bill, was a traveling salesman who peddled fake herbal remedies and was frequently absent from home for months at a time. His mother, Eliza, held the family together with an iron grip on every penny. From a very young age, John kept a personal ledger book he called Ledger A. He recorded every cent he earned, every cent he spent, and every cent he gave to his church. He was 13 years old when he started it. Thrift wasn't just a habit, it was a religion. By 16, he was working as an assistant bookkeeper in Cleveland. He was so meticulous that his employer trusted him with tasks normally given to senior accountants. And by 23, he saw what was happening in western Pennsylvania. Oil was coming out of the ground and nobody knew yet what to do with it, and he moved fast. He built his first refinery just outside Cleveland. Within 2 years, it was the largest refinery in the area, and Rockefeller was just getting started. Here is the idea that made Rockefeller different from every other businessman of his era. He didn't just want to refine oil. He wanted to own every single step between the oil coming out of the ground and the lamp it burned in. He bought the barrels, he bought the railroads' pipelines, he bought the chemical plants that made the refining byproducts, he even bought the forest where the trees for the barrels were cut. At a time when other oil companies were celebrating their profits, Rockefeller was eliminating every cost he could find, and then using those savings to undercut his competitors on price until they had no choice but to sell to him or go bankrupt. In 1870, he and a small group of partners, including financier Henry M. Flagler, founded the Standard Oil Company of Ohio. Within 2 years, Standard Oil controlled nearly all the refineries in Cleveland. Not because Rockefeller had the best product, because he had the best price and the most ruthless strategy. The secret weapon was the railroad rebate deal. Standard Oil shipped so much oil that railroads couldn't afford to lose the business, so they gave Rockefeller discounted rates, sometimes as much as 40 to 50 cents off per barrel, compared to what his competitors paid. And here is the detail that made the scheme truly vicious. Standard Oil was also receiving rebates on its competitors' shipments. That means every time a rival shipped oil on the railroad, Rockefeller got a cut of the money. His own enemies were paying for his growth. It was one of the most audacious business arrangements in American history. By 1882, Standard Oil controlled roughly 90% of all oil refining in the United States. Let that number sink in. 9 out of every 10 barrels of refined oil in America passed through a company that one man controlled. To manage this empire, Rockefeller and his associates created a legal structure nobody had tried before at this scale: the trust. 40 companies placed their stock under the control of 9 trustees, with Rockefeller at the top. On paper, the companies were separate. In practice, they moved like a single organism: one brain, dozens of hands. His competitors faced a choice: join Standard Oil or be destroyed. A refinery owner in Pittsburgh named Byron Benson tried to fight back. He built what would have been America's first major independent pipeline, over 100 miles of pipe designed to escape Rockefeller's railroad stranglehold. Standard Oil sabotaged the project, bought up the rights of way ahead of him, and pressured railroads to refuse to connect to his line. Benson lost, and Standard Oil bought his pipeline. It was always the same. Rockefeller dropped prices below cost in markets where competitors operated, absorbed the short-term losses until rivals gave up, then raised prices again once the competition was gone. One by one, the refineries fell. Some were bought, some were simply driven into the ground. And with each acquisition, Standard Oil's grip on the industry grew more absolute. Nobody lasts at the top forever, and the force that finally brought Standard Oil down wasn't the government, it was a journalist with a notebook and 19 months of patience. Ida Tarbell was the daughter of an oil producer in Pennsylvania, one of the men Rockefeller's machine had crushed. Between 1902 and 1904, she published a 19-part expose in McClure's magazine called The History of the Standard Oil Company. She went deep, every secret railroad deal, every price-cutting campaign, every small refinery driven into the ground. The series was a sensation. It changed public opinion overnight. The country was furious, and the government couldn't look away anymore. The Sherman Antitrust Act had been passed in 1890, but had never been used with real force. Now the Department of Justice filed suit against Standard Oil. In 1911, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled unanimously in Standard Oil Co. of New Jersey v. United States. Standard Oil was an illegal monopoly in violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act and must be broken up. The court ordered the trust dissolved into 34 separate companies. Most people expected Rockefeller to be ruined. Instead, something extraordinary happened. He owned stock in all 34 successor companies. As those companies competed with each other and the oil industry expanded, the value of his holdings increased dramatically. The breakup of Standard Oil made Rockefeller even richer. Here's the part of the story that most people don't know, and it may be the most important part. When the Supreme Court broke Standard Oil into 34 pieces, those pieces didn't disappear. They became the foundation of the modern energy industry. Standard Oil of New Jersey became Exxon. Standard Oil of New York became Mobil. Standard Oil of California became Chevron. Exxon and Mobil later merged to form ExxonMobil, one of the largest companies on the planet today. The laws built to destroy Rockefeller, they still exist. And they're the ones that decide today whether Apple can buy another company, whether Google went too far, whether Amazon is crossing a line. Every major antitrust investigation in the United States traces its origins directly to the Standard Oil case of 1911. And the playbook Rockefeller wrote control every step of the chain, from beginning to end, became the Bible of modern capitalism. When Apple designs its own chips, runs its own stores, and controls its own app marketplace, it's doing exactly what Rockefeller did. When Amazon owns its warehouses, its delivery network, its cloud platform, and its retail marketplace, it's doing exactly what Rockefeller did. And the philanthropic model he built at the end of his life using private wealth to fund universities, medical research, and public health became the blueprint for every major American foundation. The Rockefeller Foundation helped make the mass production of penicillin possible and funded the Green Revolution in agriculture that prevented famines, which could have killed hundreds of millions of people. Bill Gates and Warren Buffett giving away their fortunes are walking a road Rockefeller mapped. Rockefeller lived to be 97 years old. He spent the last 4 decades of his life giving away money more than $500 million in total. He funded the University of Chicago, Rockefeller University, the General Education Board, and the Rockefeller Foundation. At his death in 1937, his fortune was estimated at $1.4 billion, about 1.5% of the entire U.S. economy at the time. No person before had ever held that proportion of American wealth. He started with a ledger book at age 13 and a belief that every penny mattered. He ended with an empire that reshaped the law, the energy industry, American philanthropy, and the way every major corporation in the world thinks about growth. The companies he built still pump the gas in your car. The laws written to stop him still govern every merger, every acquisition, and every antitrust investigation happening right now. And the playbook he wrote, control the supply chain, eliminate the competition, scale relentlessly, is the operating manual of modern capitalism. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And drop a comment. Do you think Rockefeller was a visionary genius, a ruthless robber baron, or both? See you in the next video.